making Milan Serie A competitors for just 100 million. Just 100 million. That's all I need. I don't need 200. I don't need 300. Just give me 100 million. Now, let's start off with, first and foremost, the managerial appointment, because I feel like it's crystal clear. I feel like everybody knows Sergio Conceição. It doesn't look likely like he will be kept on unless the miracle happens, which is he somehow manages to revamp this team and gets them Champions League football. But looking at it from the outside, it looks like Sergio Conceição will be moved on. And for me, listen, you look at Milan and you tell yourself there's one of two directions you can go into going into next season. You either go down the project pathway. There's positives, there's negatives, there's no guarantee that it will succeed or it will work. But there's also no guarantee that it will flop. Or you go down the established winner, a manager that's been there, done it before, knows how to win. But even then, there's positives, there's negatives, and there's no guarantee that it will work. It's a gamble. No matter what pathway you go down, it's a gamble. For me, Roberto De Zerbi. I've said this before. Listen, he's a Milanista, that's one. Second, he's a manager that's managed in the Serie A. He's experienced. He's Italian. He looks like a manager that's got unfinished business. A manager that managed in the Serie A, left, went, mastered his trade outside in the Premier League, outside in Liga 1, and now he's ready to bring everything that he's learned and blend it and make you the best cocktail, make you the best mocktail. He's about to mix all of the ingredients, okay? For me, at Marseille, he's done really well. You can clearly see he's got the highest win percentage, the highest average points per game. He's a manager that's doing really well at Marseille. And fair enough, people always counter it and say, Roberto De Zerbi isn't really a winner. But I counter it and say, he's never ever represented a club where the expectation has been to win. Brighton, when he took over, they were never ever a club that people told themselves and said, De Zerbi, you must win the Champions League with Brighton or win the Premier League. No. The fact that he got them Europa League football, the fact that he got out of the group stages, it's impressive. Marseille, once again, it's not a club where people have the expectations of winning the Liga 1. At best, they want you to compete with PSG. And that's something that he's done this season. So I feel like now he's reached that stage in his career where he's built the credibility to go out there, manage a top club, where now the expectation is to win, where now the expectation is to compete, where now the expectation is to get to the latter stages of the Coppa Italia, of the Super Coppa, try and win something. And I just feel like his personality, his brand of football, it's something the San Siro needs, it's something Milan needs, it's something these players need more than anything. So for me, the first change I would make, Roberto De Zerbi, 3-year contract. Tick. Next in line, Milan, they need a regista. Okay, they need somebody that can play in the second phase, somebody that can progress play in a variety of different ways, but somebody that can grow in this team, not a player that's approached the end of his career and he's not got much to offer. I look at somebody like Ricci from Torino. Now, he is a player that even Manchester City, Pep Guardiola are looking at, and they were on the verge of signing him in January for just £40 million. The kid, there's promise, there's potential. He's got a very, very, very high ceiling. He's a player that brings it all. He's technical. He's aggressive. In possession, he's tidy. Even this season at Torino, as much as he's played the majority of his football as a regista, being that deep line playmaker, this season he's become more of a Mazzala. Like, he's doing box to box. He's trying to chip in into the final third. For me, if the appointment was De Zerbi, he would want somebody of his skill set. A player that's tidy in possession. A player that's versatile and that can play in a variety of positions. But on top of everything, an Italian player. I feel like in Calcio, the heart core of your team, the foundation, should be Italian. Now, please don't take this the wrong way. I just feel like you need players that understand the Serie A. They understand Calcio. They understand the history of these teams. They understand Milan. They know what it means to represent Milan because they've grown up watching Milan. They've grown up in an environment where everybody speaks about Milan. They've seen what Milan is capable of doing. When they put on that shirt, they know what it means rather than just coming for the money. So for me, I look at somebody like Ricci and tell myself, if Manchester City wanted 40, maybe just maybe 35, 40, 45 million, gets you one of the youngest, one of the most up-and-coming players in the Serie A and get him in a Rossoneri shirt. Now next is an outgoing, and for me, Theo Hernandez. Let's just keep it short and sweet. He looks unsettled, he looks unhappy, he looks like a player where he feels like my chapter at Milan is over. I'm ready to see out my next project. Okay, I'm ready to start a new chapter. And I just tell myself, he's had good moments. He's had a lot of bad moments this season. He's reached an age where Milan can capitalize and cash in. He is one of their most prized of assets, but they can profit on him severely. They can make some money. I think 50 million secures him a move to a club elsewhere in Europe. Now, who is the replacement? It's going to sound crazy, but it's actually a fullback that I'm a big fan of. And it's no surprise. He's worked hand in hand with Roberto De Zerbi. Roberto De Zerbi got this dude performing to a level where he was in the Premier League team of the season. And that is Pervis Estupiñán. For me, this season, he looks unsettled because of injuries, because of a new system. The fact that they went and signed Kariaglu from Fenerbahce. The fact that Hinshelwood has now been playing at left back. Estupiñán, he's been in and out of the picture. When he has started, he's contributed. But you wouldn't turn around and say he is a guaranteed starter under Fabian Hürzeler's Brighton. I look at him and I tell myself, listen, we've all seen what he done in the Premier League. Like, there was a period where this dude was the best fullback, the best left back, the best left back in the Premier League team of the season. He had it all. He had the technical ability. He had the physicality. He knew how to cross a ball. He knew how to score a free kick. He knew how to score from outside the box. He knew how to play make. He knew how to overlap, how to underlap. He was a threat. He was one of those fullbacks that you didn't want to come up against. And I turn around and tell myself, Brighton secured him for 15 million from Villarreal. Brighton are all about selling players for profits. That's just their football model. Sign for cheap, sell for high. For a player for what he's done in the Premier League, 27 years old, he's still got 2 more years left on his contract. Milan, you put 35 million pounds on the table, I reckon they can get him. 30. You've practically doubled what they've paid for him. 30 gets you Pervis Estupiñán. So what is that now? 40 on Samuele Ricci, 30 on Pervis Estupiñán. Finally, a centre-back. I look at all of Milan's centre-backs, from Gabbia, from Tomori, from Militao, and I tell myself, personally, my favourite is Militao, but I turn around and say, they need somebody else. And some might say they need the experienced, established pro. Some might turn around and say they need a young centre-half, but one that's very promising. I look at somebody like Scalvini. I love Scalvini. Scalvini at Atalanta, when I tell you guys, whoever gets their hands on Scalvini at Atalanta, and don't get me wrong, it might be a mission to even get him out of there, but I just look at it and turn around and say, 21 years old. Gasparini's Atalanta project is coming to an end because he's already made it crystal clear he's not agreeing a new deal, and he's either leaving in 2025 or in 2026. Usually, when a manager of the figure of Gasparini leaves, a lot of his most prized of assets, a lot of his best of players will leave with him. So don't be surprised if this Atalanta team gets torn to pieces from the Edersons, from the Retegis, from the CDKs, from the Scalvinis. I look at Scalvini and I tell myself, this kid is special in terms of ball progression, ball carrying, the passing, the defending, his versatility, where he can play in a back 4, he can play in a back 3, he can push forward and step into midfield. He's still young. There's so many more margins for growth. I just turn around and tell myself, potentially Militao might be going to Bayer Leverkusen, as it's been reported. Scalvini is the perfect replacement. And it pushes more the idea of just having that Italian core to your team. You've got Scalvini, Italian. You've got Ricci, Italian. You've got players that understand Milan. They understand what it means to represent the club. And then for me, the attack, I don't think this is a Milan attack that requires much tweaking. Like, I personally would go into next season with Santi Jimenez, Reinders in the 10, Pulisic and Rafa Leao. I think Milan's problems this season, as much as at times they've struggled to score goals, confidence, systems, tactics, but I look at them defensively and I tell myself they're in need of new centre-halves. They're in need of new fullbacks. They're in need of that new midfield duo. I look at somebody like Scalvini, somebody like Ricci, somebody like Pervis Estupiñán. You get all of those. Once you combine the fact that you've sold Theo Hernandez for 50 million, you've spent less than 100. And you've improved the team severely. But listen, this is just my opinion. This is just me thinking out loud. Make sure to let me know of 3 players in your opinion that you think Milan can get for 100, 110 million. That you reckon can turn them into Scudetto competitors. Now, if you're new, make sure to subscribe, make sure to hit the like button, make sure to let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll catch you guys on another one.